Alrighty guys, it is now 5:30 in the morning. I am up this early, not because I can't sleep, but just because I don't sleep. I'm terrible sleeping. Me and sleeping just have a terrible relationship. But I get baptized in 5 hours. And the story to my baptism is a little unorthodox. Like I kind of wish I had the cool story of like, hey, I was addicted to drugs and then Jesus saved me. Or like, hey, I had this sickness and Jesus healed me the next day and nobody knew how I was even healed because everybody thought I was gonna die, etc., etc. My story is actually pretty unorthodox. I was raised in a very religious household. We would go to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. We would even go to Bible study like on a random Tuesday sometimes. But when I turned 18, I kind of just veered off from the Lord. I joined the military and I was in the pursuit of the American dream. I wanted to make $100,000 by the time I was 30 years old. I wanted to be married with kids and just live the American dream. So off I went. I joined the Marine Corps. I was there for 4 years. After the 4 years, that was when my daughter was about to be born. I had to choose to either re-enlist and possibly be deployed because they were sending people to Bahrain around that time, or to kind of just choose family and be a part of my daughter's first steps, first words, her first belly roll, etc., etc. So I kind of chose family. From there, me and my wife at the time, we then moved to like where her family's at in Bullhead. And I was like picking up little jobs here and there, trying to build my resume. Like I worked at a courthouse, I worked at a county assessor's office, and I even like went to school. I was able to graduate college. After going to college, getting an associate's degree, I applied to be a probation officer, but then they told me that I needed a bachelor's degree. And I hated school at the time. So I was like, I'm not going back to school. I saw that the police department was hiring and they would pay about $75,000 a year at the time. I said, okay, cool, this is a good career path that I can go to and little by little like grow my annual income because I thought that mattered so much. I went to the police academy. During the police academy was when my marriage was falling apart. I literally was trying to do anything I possibly could to save that marriage, and it just didn't work out. Like we kind of just grew apart and we felt like the best decision was to go our separate ways. And around that time was when I kind of graduated the police academy and I was on my own as a police officer. I lived on my own. I was making more money than I ever made in my entire life, and I feel like I was just getting started. While in the police department, I met this girl. It was one of my calls that I went to, one of my cases that I went to. We were talking about her case and we kind of like hit it off, and she told me something about church, and I was like, oh, well, what kind of church do you go to? She was like, oh, I go to this one. I normally go to second service, but if you want to go to first service, we can go together. And I'm thinking that like this is my full circle moment. Like here I am, like newly divorced. I then find this great job. I find this amazing woman, and it's gonna be this great Cinderella story, and my life is just getting started. Little did I know that was when my life was about to come to a crashing burn. So I went to church that next Sunday with her. She then said, hey, let's go to lunch. I agreed to it. And little by little, we started seeing each other a little bit more. The problem was that this was a victim to my case. So even though we were hitting it off and I thought there was this Cinderella moment, I did this disgusting mistake in seeing her more and more and more. And now that becomes a conflict of interest with the police department. The police department got a wind of it. They pulled me into investigations. I was under investigations for 2 weeks. I literally told the truth in every question they asked me. I showed them every text message. I'm thinking the most that's gonna happen is me probably get a write-up, get suspended, etc., etc. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call saying that I'm terminated and they no longer want my services. So here I am, jobless, not knowing where to go. And so little by little, I started praying a little bit more. I started reading the Bible a little bit more, but I wasn't necessarily religious. It was more or less like maybe a once a week kind of thing. And thankfully, by the grace of God, my ex-wife allowed me to move back in the house with her while I tried to find a job. So I literally was jobless, living in my ex-wife's house for about 2-3 months, maybe even 4 months, trying to find a job. So I'm applying to like different police departments and nobody wants me because of my record. I had the military background, I had the college degree. I'm applying to other office positions that are paying somewhat similar, and I'm thinking, well, I worked aviation, I can use that as my resume. So I would apply and nobody would want me. I couldn't understand what was going on. So as I'm looking for jobs, it's now been 2-3 months that I can't get a job. I can't even get an interview. I'm not too sure what's going on. I find that this corrections facility is hiring. They're desperate for people, and they're paying around the same amount of money that I was making in the police department. I then apply at that corrections facility and I start working there. About 1.5 years into me working at the prison, I start becoming this arrogant, egotistical hothead. I got into the best shape of my life. I'm making more money than I can ever imagine. And at this point, I feel like I can't. Like whatever I put my mind to, I can get. I start losing my best traits. I start becoming more hot-headed. It got to the point where my kids didn't even want to visit me anymore. They would cry to their mom saying, we don't want to go to his house. We don't want to go to his house. And I just lost myself trying to find myself at the same time. I remember not knowing who I was anymore. I told myself, okay, cool. I'm gonna try to be a firefighter then, because at the very least they work 2 days on, 4 days off. I'll be able to see them more. I'll be able to have more time off, and I won't be as irritated, as angry as I used to be. But for whatever reason, I kept kicking the can. I kept working at the prison because of how much money I was making. Until this one day, I come in, I'm irritated, I'm sleep deprived, and I get into this back and forth verbal exchange with this inmate. Me and him go at it back and forth, and he swings at me and he hits me in the face. I then have 2 options. I can hit him back or pull out the spray. Normally in a prison setting, they want you to pull out the spray, but the way I was raised was if someone hits me, I'm gonna hit him back. So I hit him back and we start fighting. And because of my wrestling background, the way I've always fought was if I can get this person to the ground, then it's over. So we're throwing punches at each other. I then grab his legs, dump him on his head, and now he has me in a headlock. And for whatever reason, I can't get out of this headlock. I'm trying my best to get out, and I can't get out of this headlock. All the inmates start surrounding us and like cheering him on, and I'm there by myself. I don't know when my backup's coming. I didn't even radio that we're fighting because my radio went flying. I just said, I need backup, and this was when we were like just face to face, going back and forth. At this point, I'm just like doing my best to get out of this headlock. After like 5 minutes trying to get out of this headlock, I finally get out of it. And so now he dives for my spray, he dives for my belt. Now in wrestling, there's this thing called sprawling, and I was always good at it. I then sprawled in where I got on top of him, and that is when he finally stopped fighting. I can't continue to hit him because now that's excessive use of force. So I'm now yelling at him, put your hands behind your back, put your hands behind your back, put your hands behind your back, and he's not putting his hands behind his back. That was when my backup finally come. They then disperse all the inmates to their bunks. They then handcuff the inmate, and as I'm typing my report of what happened, I say to myself, what has my life become? It got to the point where I didn't recognize myself anymore, and as I'm typing my report, I get this strong feeling of get out of there, get out of the prison, get out of the prison. But because of my pride, I said, no, I need to go back. And I kept getting this strong feeling, if you don't get out of there, it's gonna get worse. If you don't get out of there, it's gonna get worse. Swallow your pride, get out of there. So I put my 2 weeks in, I swallowed my pride, and I left, and off I went to trying to be a firefighter. The thing with Arizona is you have to be an EMT, an emergency medical technician, in order to be a firefighter. You can't just be a firefighter. So I started schooling to become an EMT, and after 5 months, you then take this national registry. Not everyone passes the national registry. About 60 to 70% of the students only pass it. The rest fail it the first try. So I literally, every morning, I use the same dedication that I used in my early adulthood, where I was able to accomplish everything I put my mind to. I use that same dedication for EMT schooling. Woke up every morning, read my textbook, went to every study session that I could possibly go to. I left no rock unturned. And so when it was time to finally take the national registry, I failed. And I didn't understand because I used the same dedication that I used in the military, the same dedication that I used to become a cop or to graduate college. I used that same dedication, and I failed. The problem was that Fire Academy started in 2 weeks. I could go to Fire Academy without being an EMT. I just can't be a firefighter without being an EMT. So I said, okay, cool. Let me just focus completely 110% on the firefighting stuff so that I can pass every firefighting test. And all I have to do is just focus on passing the national registry to become an EMT. That way I'll be firefighter certified, I'll be EMT certified, and now I can get a job with the fire department. So I go to Fire Academy. I use that same dedication that I use to go to college, to go to the military, to become a police officer. And now it's time for state testing. And with firefighting, you have to pass 4 state tests. If you do not pass either of them, you still cannot be certified. So even if you pass 3 and you fail 1, you still can't be certified. You have to pass all 4 of them. So I knew this and I studied my butt off as hard as I possibly could. Come test day, out of the 4 tests that I took, I failed 2 of them. And I'm wondering what's going on. Literally everything I'm putting my mind to, I'm falling short at. The same dedication that I had early on in my adult life is the same dedication that I'm using now, and I can't accomplish anything. Now I'm in this toxic relationship now that I can't get out of for one reason or another. And the only thing that I could possibly control in my life at that point was my prayer. That was the only possible thing that I could do. So I started praying. I started praying a lot, and then I started reading the Bible, and little by little, God was able to remove me out of the relationship that I was stuck in. He put a strong feeling in my heart, basically saying, go find a church. Throughout my adult life, I tried to find churches, and I never really got that home church feeling. I would always walk back to my car, drive back home from church feeling empty. I would always feel like driving to church every Sunday was more or less like a duty and not necessarily something that I wanted to do. It was just something that I had to do because I was Christian. So I never really found a church once I moved to Arizona. And he's putting this strong feeling in my heart, find a church, find a church, find a church. And I said, you know what, fine. I hit up one of my buddies from the Fire Academy. I say, hey, what church do you go to? He says this one. I go to that one. I leave that church feeling empty. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll try again. Maybe that just wasn't the service for me. And I get this really big craving of eating a burger with pineapple, and I'm not too sure why. I go to this restaurant that serves burger with pineapple, and I'm sitting at the restaurant and I'm talking to this waitress. This isn't a love story, I promise you. I'm talking to this waitress. She's like, oh yeah, where'd you come from? I was like, oh, I just got back from church. She was like, church? Oh, you should try this other church. It's called Hope City. And then the busser was like, yeah, you should try Hope City. I heard nothing but good things about it. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go to the church called Hope City the very next Sunday. And as I'm sitting in church and the pastor's talking, I literally feel like I'm the only one in the room. Like he's talking direct to me. And I would have to like snap myself out of it and realize that like people were around me. And that day, I rededicated my life to Jesus. I started going to small groups. As I'm going to small groups, I learned about like what baptism actually means. And the thing is that like I got baptized when I was like 9 years old. So I never really felt the need to get baptized again, but lately I was starting to get that tug in my heart to get baptized, and I don't know why. And I think the reason why is because in this baptism that's going to happen in the next few hours, it's going to be a declaration. It's going to be a declaration to God that I'm here to stay, that I'm tired of doing it my way, and I just need to learn to let go and do it His way. And ever since I rededicated my life to Christ, anger turned into joy, loneliness turned into peace. I have the best relationship with my kids now. I have a great relationship with my family. I'm surviving and I don't really know how. I passed my EMT class, my national registry. I passed one of the 2 firefighting tests that I failed. The other one I'm still waiting on the results. I really don't know if I was supposed to become a firefighter in all of this. Maybe the reason for me going on this firefighting journey was to humble me and to find him again and to see how my life looks when I just let go and follow him. But yeah, this baptism is more or less just going to be a declaration to him that I'm here to stay and I'm just tired of doing things my way. And I think it's just time for me to let go, and I'm ready to do that, as scary as it may sound. Anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Much love. And if you feel lonely, if you feel broken, if you feel like the only thing that you have left is to pray about it because you have no other control, just do it. You have nothing to lose. Anyways, take care, guys.